Hello, hello. Welcome to the Five Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. I interview the top commercial real estate investors and industry experts so you can learn from their experiences. So if you're an investor, a high W-2 earner, or real estate or tech sales professional that wants to invest in real estate without having to manage properties or leave your day job, then this podcast is for you. Or if you're already investing in real estate, but you're doing it part-time and you want to become a full-time multifamily or full-time commercial real estate investor, this podcast is for you too. You're going to learn a ton. You will learn from real-life multifamily investors and other professionals in the industry. They're going to share their blueprints for success, and I'm super excited that you're here. So I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, hello. This is Abel Pacheco, your host for the Five Talents Podcast, where we talk about wealth creation, passive investing, real estate, get into a number of different topics. And we have Miss Rashmi Nigam, who I've met this past year through our multiple events in commercial real estate. And I'm super excited. I'm very happy that you came and joined us for an interview. Rashmi, how's it going?
Great, lovely sunny day in Cali.
Yeah, I love it. What's the temperature like?
It's
Nice
like
and cool.
80 degrees. It's almost embarrassing.
You're like, it's almost perfect.
Yes.
Not too hot, not too cold. Well, that's awesome. But thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you don't know Miss Rashmi Nigam, you're gonna want to take note of her name, follow her, go check her out, check this podcast interview out, and we'll give you her contact information in the show notes, because she's one of those individuals you want to reach out to if you are looking for partners, and if you're lucky enough to have the opportunity to have a discussion with her about new assets. She's one of those individuals that has a lot of expertise and a lot of experience doing some stuff that I don't have doing on my own. So she is in about 130 plus doors, or whatever the number count is, 100 plus, about $8 million of multifamily real estate. And unlike a lot of folks that I talk to, there's very few that actually rarely get into a portfolio of properties on that level on their own without syndication. And so she's one of those individuals. And then also she's a passive investor in many multiple deals as well. So Rashmi, let me turn it over to you. Just for a real, in your own words and introduction, who are you? What do you do? And we'll just start a great conversation there. I'm super excited.
Oh, absolutely. So hi, everyone. Thank you for watching. My name's Rashmi Nigam. And so I'm actually a W-2. So I'm kind of in a very different bucket than many people you've often heard from. So I do have a W-2 job in the tech space, running product teams. I'm also an active real estate investor, operator. I've been doing that for almost a decade at this point. And for the last 3 years, I've been doing passive investments also. So I've done about 6 or 7 passive syndication investments and syndications. So I'm hoping, my journey can educate you and inspire you, because it's all possible.
Absolutely. I'm already inspired. I mean, literally your journey so far, being able to have a successful, a successful professional career, and, realizing that your active income, where you're trading time for money, and your expertise for money, which is obviously at a high level. If you're a product manager, creating the products for other people and, to other businesses to leverage, there's so much value in that. And the active income now, instead of just, having to always actively create that, you put it into a vehicles that will go create money when you're sleeping, so to speak. And so I'm inspired already.
Mm.
So let's walk through what you do in your W-2 job, your tech career. Tell us, about you. What'd you
Sure.
grow up doing?
So I'm an immigrant. I came to the U.S. I grew up in Africa, also Africa and India. I came to the U.S. for college, did engineering, came to L.A., met my husband, got married, never left, got my MBA here in the process. Started off, this is probably typical of a lot of real estate investors, in engineering, software development first. Didn't really feel I was cut out for it. I wanted to be on the business side of technology. So I've been doing product management for many companies, whether it's gaming, dating, influencer marketing, just creating, fun products that people can use and add value to their lives.
Yeah, that's so cool. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and I've always been interested in real estate, been a passion, like my eyes light up. I am obsessed with it, one could say. Real estate and food are sort of my two other passions outside of work. And I could talk hours about either. And
Uh,
and some
I'm more of the eater.
you're the eater.
You may be able to tell. I'm not much of a talker about food, but I'll eat some.
Yeah, I love it.
Anyways, go
To
ahead.
me, a table full of people at my home is the best feeling for me. So it's always an open home and there's always food. So
That's awesome. I love your house already. Uh, so what year did you come to the US?
in the 90s, I came here from undergrad and college.
Got it. And you went to school, I heard engineer,
Yeah, chemical
uh,
engineering.
a chemical engineer. Okay, well, I don't even know what a chemical engineer does. It just sounds already like you are one of those super smart individuals. Did you actually apply that in schooling? It's to go to work, or is it just where you got your degree?
So
And
where I went to college, we had a co-op program, so where you could go work. So we had a 2-year co-op program and the 5-year program. So by the end of it, I realized I did not want to be a chemical engineer. I didn't want to work with chemicals. So
yeah,
then I actually then got a master's in computers.
that's awesome.
That's how I transitioned into tech.
And what year was that? When did you get your MBA?
That, I mean, it was 2009. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And that was tech. I maybe around the same-ish time. I'm a little older than you, but in the same time, I was in a COBOL class at University of Texas, San Antonio, and that
Yeah.
was the first computer class to like the computer science degree. And they said that was a weed out class, and that was definitely for me. I was like, no, I don't like COBOL, and I don't want to learn how to do this stuff. And I stopped there, my computer science degree. I went from there to general business. So, anyways, you did not stop there. You kept going, and that is so awesome. So you've been in tech. Did I hear software developer was kind of the
That
next
was my
part?
original sort of, yeah, I started off with software development, did that for a few years, liked it, but I never wanted to be a solo contributor.
Yep.
And I sort of was always fascinated by using technology to solve business problems. So hence the role of product manager, trying to figure out what to do with all this and what to build.
I love it. I love it. I like, hearing how people kind of start and,
Yeah.
their background, because somebody may hear you today and say, oh, 130 doors and $8 million of property and successful professional as well. Well, that overnight success, the 3 years, that it took, or 5 years, whatever. Yeah. That actually started way back in the 90s. Russia's been crushing it since then. And, it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen if you put enough time, energy, persistence, dedication, much like I hear in your
Yeah.
story already.
I agree. I think social media and everything else makes success look so easy, right? Because
Mhm.
that's all you see, but you just don't. It's sort of like a duck wading in a pond. I think that's always the analogy I'll use. It looks so graceful, but
Mhm.
deep down, it's been working away and slogging to get to that point. And everything's generally a long-term game, I find. I think there are very few people that really have that trajectory like within a year or two.
Yeah.
If you keep at it, like you said, you will get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So at what point through your, schooling, your job, your professional run, when did you get the idea to invest in real estate, and how did that come about?
The probably right after, like after I got married. So I think I was always interested and passionate about it, but because I'd come in here as a student visa, I had to sort of get my, finally get into my green card, which sort of said, okay, you know what, now I can stay in this country without having to pack up and leave. So
Yeah.
that was sort of, we never bought a home. We only bought our home 3 years ago. We were like the last people amongst our friends to buy a house. But what we did along the
Super
way,
awesome.
we just kept investing.
That's super
So
awesome.
I think year two, or maybe the first year in our marriage, we're like, let's just start buying. And I had a condo, sold that, bought as my husband, he had some money, so we put together and we bought a portfolio of about like 4 or 5, 6 unit buildings in Cali. And we would property manage them, own them, and kept going at it. And then we sold everything a few years ago and then started trading up.
Nice. And so how long did you hold the small properties, your portfolio, before you sold it? What kind of
Probably
run was
way
that?
too long. In hindsight, I think again, it was the mindset shift. When we first got them, it was like, hey, you know what? One for our retirement, one for one kid's college, one for the other kid's college, and one's like a throwaway, right? And that was it. And you were happy thinking that way, right?
Yeah.
And like we probably should have sold right around 2007 or right before the bust happened, but we didn't. I think we had those for maybe about 10 years.
Okay.
And then we sold those, and then we bought a 50 unit in Tucson.
Boom. So let's break this one down first. So, okay, 10-year run, portfolio, liquidate, let's get it all. And you essentially traded up. Did you use a formal 1031 or did you just have cash and waited for the right deal, or how did that happen?
In this case, we did 1031.
Nice.
In our passives, we just use cash.
Can you explain for those that may not know how a 1031 works in the layman, the most simple, understanding? What the heck is a 1031 and how do I sell and get into your deal?
It's a vehicle to defer taxes till later. And that's really what it is, which stock market does not give you in some ways, right? If I sell my stocks today, the gains I kind of have to pay, whether it's short-term or long-term. Whereas in this, I can sort of hold on to my gains and keep multiplying. There's Absolutely. A payout. Hopefully I won't have to deal with it. It's probably my kids. I'll pass it on to them.
Keep going. And the step-up basis, hopefully the step-up basis is what we want. And so to break this down for those listening, because Rashmi, I think we have both passive investors that are probably listening, as well as active investors that want to go do what you did. And for both, the 1031 is an amazing vehicle that gives people the opportunity to do what Rashmi did, which is she invested for 10 years. So if some of you have a portfolio or even a single family house or two, when you sell it, the IRS wants their portion. Everybody's tax situation is different, so it affects everyone different, but let's just call it 15%. If you bought a property or a few properties and they total up to $1 million, well, if you bought them at 500K and held them for 10 years and they were worth $1 million, the government wants their chunk of flesh at the extra 500K because your basis was $500,000 and your profit was the other half. So instead of paying, call it a 15% tax on the $500,000, you put together a 1031, use a formal, it's called an intermediary exchange, somebody that's like formalized in their position, and they help you identify they help you move that money in, the clear and right way to do it. You still need an intermediary to do it. Pick some properties and you go buy it. And now you don't have to pay that taxes, and you kind of defer the taxes until further down the road. And what Rashmi said is, man, at some point, maybe she passes that over to her children. They get a step up basis at whatever the assets are worth at that time, so that they don't have to pay taxes on the gain from $500,000 to, God willing, 20 million, and where Rashmi is going. So
that's on my vision board, 20 million.
20? I love it. I love it.
Oh, okay. That's massive action someday.
We're thinking along the same lines. And I'm glad we're kind of vibing in this interview, because that's exactly what it is. This is how wealth is created. Most people don't think, well, shoot, I can't ever have $20 million. And, you never know. Like, you just got to get started. And who cares if you're 60 or 40 or 20?
That's right.
If you're listening, just get started where you're at, and you've got to start somewhere. Everybody has a first deal. Everybody has a first day, and just kind of take action and just keep going. And now for your children, it's going to be an amazing, legacy game changer for them as they grow up. It's amazing. Congratulations, and keep going, Rashmi. Hello. You're listening to the 5 Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you're serious about achieving financial freedom. Are you ready to create your own path through multifamily investing for yourself and your family? then I know you're going to appreciate our Investor's Guide to Multifamily Investing. It's titled Tackling Commercial Real Estate the Easy Way. We use this guide to invest ourselves in $93 million worth of real estate. So we're going to show you the basic mechanics of multifamily syndications and how to evaluate your next passive investment opportunity. So the best part, if you subscribe to our podcast now, leave us a review and a rating. I'm going to give you a free copy of our ebook. So please take a moment to do that now. Once you've done that, go to 5tcre.com/ebook, 5tcre.com/ebook. Make sure to let us know you left a review, and we're going to send you a free copy. So thank you so much for subscribing to the 5 Talents Podcast. We really appreciate it. So, holy moly, you bought what was the first your portfolio, and then you bought what was the big apartment complex or building?
50 units.
Wow.
Out
Okay.
of state.
Tell us about this first deal. Like, just, let me see, because we have a lot of things to talk about in this interview, and we have a short period of time. So just kind of briefly give us a couple of highlights. Like
50 units in Tucson, first deal. In hindsight, I look back, my God, like, thank God we have some common sense that we didn't make so many, like, mistakes are proper. And I think that's where education comes in. Certainly get educated when you start playing. And, I think because of maybe our background or just the way you've been trained professionally, we didn't make, now knowing what I do, I'm like, we did all the right stuff. But at that time, we didn't know we were doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
We chose a state that was investor friendly. We bought a building that was sort of in the path of gentrification. Again, not knowing any of these terms.
Yeah.
Just doing what was common sense. Sold it. Bought it. And then I think, was it a year and a half later, maybe right about 2 years. I do have a policy. If somebody calls me, I will pick up the call, or an email, I will respond. Even if I can't help, whatever it is, whether it's for career advice or real estate. A broker called out of the blue saying, I want to buy yours. I'm like, make me an offer I can't refuse. And he did. And because I had a number in mind, so it was always important. And then we sold, and then we up-legged again.
That's awesome. And when you say up-leg again, another 1031 to 1031, defer the freaking taxes and buy something bigger. And so what did you buy what was the next deal that you bought?
So we bought a combination of 3 buildings, 2 in Tucson, and then we expanded into Kansas City.
Cool.
So that's where the portfolio is coming in. So now I'm actually at this point starting to look into different cities, because Tucson, I'm like, I think anyone who is somewhat versed in real estate, Phoenix, Arizona, hot. So it's Texas, they're hot. It's impossible to find anything right now.
Yep. Understood. And it takes us quite a bit of offers to kind of find the one. A lot of underwriting and a lot of analysis, a lot of walking through deals and trying to get in front of brokers to get a first look at something. So it takes all of it. But that's so awesome. Let me pause, because this is just, I don't want to gloss over this. You are an immigrant to the country. You are a female, which is in real estate, which is difficult in its own right. Female in any industry. My wife reminds me, because when we were in tech, she was in tech also. And she goes, you know what, female employees at tech, or in tech in general, they make less than the male counterparts. There are less of them. It is harder for us. And so I'm like, well, let me not gloss over this every time I hear an amazing story too, because in real estate, it's pretty much the same. It is male dominated. So, talk to us about some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome, and just push through for, give a little bit of that inspiration you were talking about for others that are, just hear the story and say, maybe they think they can't do it, but share with them.
It's like the saying, right? Whether you think you can or you can't is right. And so it's in your mind. But your wife is absolutely right? So tech and real estate are very, very similar. Certainly gone through the struggles of being the only female on the team, or being one of, females generally in HR, but not in any other sort of leadership position. Mm-hmm. So, just you've sort of risen through that, you've fought it, you've overcome it, and, your confidence grows, right? At this point, I don't want someone to look at me because I'm a female. I want someone to look at me because both at work and here is the fact that, you know what, I bring value, whether it is at work. The way I was able to overcome it was through data and confidence, right? When you come in with data, it was harder initially because I think you had to fight more to make a case or have more evidence to make a case, where guys, it might have been somewhat easier. But, times are changing. You play the game, use it. I think it goes both ways. Call out when there's BS, support when you need to, and also don't play, oh, I'm a female card, right? After a while, you just have to be who you are and your abilities. And, speaking that, I mean, I'm still in those situations where in product and on the engineering side, especially on tech side, it's still not equally represented. So, that confidence that's come in that, hey, you know what, I have my way of operating. I know how to do my research. I know what I'm talking about. And you carry that forward. I don't think you should feel anything less than. But now, having said that, it's hard when you're 20s to get that. Some of it just comes from life.
Yeah.
You just have to experience it. So like knowing what I know now, I wish I knew that in my 20s, right? Because then the energy of a 20-year-old and the maturity of the confidence of a 40-year-old is deadly. It's the most perfect combination. And
Yeah. Yes. I'm smiling ear to ear, and I love the mindset of, you think you can, you think you can't. Either way, you're right. And just I wish we had a little bit of that wisdom when I was 20 to say, hey, get started, go, move. Right. It took me a little while longer, I think, to get moving, but once we got rolling, we're like, okay, yeah, it is a long game, and we'll just continue playing it one step at a time, right?
Right.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing just that little insight of knowledge, and thanks for letting us peer into your life here. In this journey, you are also a passive investor. So most of the investors that I know that are general partners and principals, they a lot of them did single family houses first. So you are not unique in that. We bought what we could, right? Let's get in and get started. And then, but I do talk to a lot of people that are passive investors first. You started as a general partner, and now, but really you've invested, I think I heard this right, like many multiple passive investing opportunities. So talk to us about, how this came about and why. And maybe we just start with that question.
Sure. It's funny, right? Because we've sort of done everything backwards, right? You generally go single family to passive, then you start operating and owning, and we've sort of jumped around. So passive is something we've done in the last maybe 3 years or so. And the idea was there were asset classes we were interested in, but just didn't have the bandwidth with jobs and life and managing this to get into. But you know what? I love the mobile home asset class. I love investing in those, and I hope to pick some up, this year. So it's like, hey, let's jump in. I think we initially went after asset classes that made sense. And we started expanding once we sort of developed our framework. And, we've also chosen to go passive in markets we're not interested in, right? I love Texas, Florida. I don't want to get on a plane to go to Florida, living in LA, to deal with something. But if there's a good deal there, and I trust somebody, I'll invest. Same thing for Texas. I don't think I could even get a deal. Like, it is so hot and there's such good players there. No one's even going to look at me. But that doesn't mean, so it's sort of, deciding that, okay, the first one was really hard, right? It was sort of, am I going to trust this person to lose my 50,000, right? And at that point, and that's still my mindset even now, right? I assume that money is lost. If it comes back, like, at least be prepared that it's lost.
You've got a great expectation setting though, because it's so much easier operating if you can put your mind in that position. Now it's easier to let go and say, I'm going to give someone control.
And give someone control. And then, and you put in your checks and balances, and how do you trust and vet people, and trust and vet the deal, and how do you feel? So this is vetting the deal, and location, I think, helps because of being an active. I'm a little more aware, okay, you know what, this market actually makes sense, and this deal makes sense. And then the passive understanding has been, at the end of the day, people like to work with people they like, right? And it's like, do I, and I have sort of have a framework, right? I really want, do I like this person? Do I trust them? How do they speak? How do they behave in social media and in real life events? you build, right? So I'm always sort of keeping a pulse of investors, syndicators out there, and oftentimes I'll know, like, when they come with a deal, I'm ready to write. And so our philosophy right now is, at least about 2, maybe 3 syndications a year. Is sort of, that's another path I just want to keep working, because it is nice. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, if you find the right horse, the right jockey actually, and
Yeah.
that mailbox money is magical. Like, you don't have to deal with anything. So I do like that part of it, where I don't. So that's sort of how we've been straddling it, and
Yeah.
I like being passive too.
Absolutely. That's so awesome. There's so many, there's a couple things that I wrote down and a couple of things I was thinking about. So the one of the things that I wrote down was your active side of the house. That gave you some mindset to understand, what the passive investor is doing. It makes you a more I don't know, you're just a better informed, better
Mhm.
equipped. Some of this, what you mentioned earlier at your job, the obstacles that you overcame at the professional world were data and confidence. And when I have data and confidence, then I can put this together and say, hey, this is the right way to go. Well, you have data and confidence, and you have an active side of you. So now you're kind of position that in the passive side. And does your husband, does he work as well?
Yeah, we're both W-2s,
So
and
active W-2, active
right.
income, push everything
And
you can into
and
passive.
exactly. So I think there's what people always go back and forth, right? Hey, do you do W-2? Do you go full time? So I know we're probably not taking, full on tax benefits of a full time professional, and that's something we need to look at. But I
Yeah.
love the aspect that, because these investments, you're not living off of it, because you have your income that you can keep multiplying. So maybe if you do it for 3 years or so,
Hmm.
you just scale up so much faster,
Yeah.
and then you can just transition.
You definitely want your snowball kicking. What I was amazed on the passive side was, so I got in my first deal and they're like, hey, it's a 5-year hold. And I said, okay, great. And we're going to refinance in a couple of years after we push the value up. Refinance will give you a little piece of the capital back, but ultimately plan for not having your money to 5 years. Well, there was a good offer and they sold in like 2. And so I had all my capital back plus the return, and we hit it. And I go, oh, well, that was kind of cool. Some of these deals come before 5 years, and if you have enough of them deployed, which I'm sure you're experiencing now, some sell early, some are refinancing, and you've got the seed money back, so you can go put out at a larger capital event. And then I had another investor, someone actually today was like, well, I want to make 15K a month of passive income. So we did the math, and it's $2.5 million roughly at a
That sounds right.
7%, 7% preferred return or distribution, right? And so it's like, oh, well, that's all I need. If I have $2.5 million and deployed across, many multiple deals with a 7% preferred, that's 15K a month, 180K a year passively. And so what you're doing, you're actually living my dream. If I can share that with you, Rashmi, I am trying to be a full-time passive investor as well. So you're on your way. I am the same, because at some point I'm very active in these deals today. However, I want to be the super passive investor, maybe a KP on some deals and KP only, and then
Right, right.
I have
We'll
somebody else
get there.
put this
We'll all
together.
get there, right? We're all on our journeys. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of time.
Yeah, a super LP. And for those that are listening, they're like not quite sure what this is. So on these deals, they're let's call it a $10 million deal. A lot of times the bank will need you to have net worth equal to the size of the loan. And so you've got to put a team together that kind of is equal to that size of the loan. And so a key principal may be brought into a team. They cover the net worth, they cover liquidity, 10% of the loan amount that's not invested in the deal. So somebody with high net worth and liquidity, and that's where I am shooting for in the
Hmm.
future, and then invest passively over and over again. So anyways, this is awesome.
No, I can't wait to see your journey. I think it will be a fun ride for the next few years, right? I think we have very similar goals and
Yes,
aspirations.
ma'am.
So it'll be fun to see where
Yes,
life
ma'am.
takes us.
Absolutely. So with the last few minutes we have before we wrap up, let me do a couple of things. One, who do you want to connect with? Who are you searching for? Who do you want to reach out to you, and where should they go contact you?
Sure. So my goal this year is partnerships. Like I'm working backwards, and so I want to find partners. So get in on deals. I have never done a syndication, so I want to actually go do a syndication and do the business from that side. And so that's who I'm looking for potential partners anywhere. It's a team, and you can find the properties, like-minded people, and yeah, and people can find me on Facebook. They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm a little more active on LinkedIn. I would say Instagram, but there I only post food pictures, so you won't see anything. But LinkedIn and Facebook is probably good.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And we can put some of those links in the show notes as well. And is there anything we didn't cover today that you really wanted to highlight, bring some exposure to, something you were hoping I asked and just never got to?
No, I think we had a great chat. Um,
I agree. Well, Rashmi, I really sincerely appreciate your time. I think this has been an amazing conversation. We try to keep this as succinct as possible, but there are so many nuggets. I would absolutely reach out to Rashmi if you have an opportunity that you want to work on. And just, I would say, start developing the relationship now, not when you have a deal. And so
yeah.
do it. And then maybe there's an opportunity out there for you all to connect. So thank you very much, Rashmi. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you. Bye, Abel.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone. And my name is Abel Pacheco. I'm the host for Five Talents Podcast. If you heard something that was valuable today, please go to our podcast, subscribe, rate, leave a written review, and we appreciate it. We'll see you at the next show. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Five Talents Podcast with your host, myself, Abel Pacheco. Each week, we're going to bring you interviews from industry experts and commercial real estate investors who followed their dreams and achieved massive success. Before you leave, let me ask you a few questions. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you learn something valuable? Was your mind stretched to what's possible and what you can achieve? Do you want other experts just like the one you heard today? If you answered yes to any or all of those questions, then please take a moment to subscribe to the Five Talents Podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and most importantly, leave us a written review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us your favorite guest. Give us any feedback. I'm excited to learn and improve so you can get a more valuable show. So thank you again for subscribing to the Five Talents Podcast.